Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we reunite with an old friend originally launched in 2013. This is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Cosmograph Daytona 116506, which was the first ever publicly available series production platinum Rolex Daytona. Unveiled on the occasion of the model's half-century anniversary, this 50-year special remains available and extraordinary in its depth of color, contrast, the unbelievable mass and sense of quality in the hand. A watch that, yes, marked 50 years, but was too special to discontinue. This represents, to this day, the flagship of the Daytona collection. So rarely seen and spectacular when encountered, the watch is still standard sized for Daytona. In platinum, 40 millimeters in diameter, 12.2 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip. If we're just measuring the case, 47.5 millimeters, but if you add the end links of the bracelet, the total horizontal distance across the wrist is 52 millimeters. 20 millimeters, the spacing between the lugs when you throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. You get a good sense of the size of the watch. The watch is not large. It's full-sized without being oversized, and you can see it is quite flat. Being only 12.2 millimeters thick, it is one of the thinnest sporting Rolex models. And while the end-link to end-link span is fairly broad, you can see that the actual lugs of the case come nowhere near the edge of my wrist, so I can recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. Just be ready. The mass is unbelievable. The bracelet is Rolex's Oyster design, 3 links with an integrating end link that better mates it to the case visually. Rolex has its own foundry, makes its own alloys, creates its own cases, bracelets, and clasps, and you can really see here that platinum is blindingly pure white. Against this, white gold would appear much warmer. We have a combination of polish and satin. The bracelet does taper down towards the clasp. In profile, polished outer facets, removable links fixed by screws for easy swapping out with your jeweler's screwdriver. Inside of the clasp, we have the Easy Link system, snap in, snap out, 5 millimeters of tool-free adjustment. Then if you look carefully, you can see that there are 3 pairs of divots drilled inside the clasp body. There's a spring bar, and you can use your strap tool to re-anchor the bracelet in a different position to fine-tune the fit. We have a double locking clasp with a single folded action. You can see it's thick gauge platinum inside, media blasted and polished. There's a lift lock system with a beacon to hook. You can see those 2 things latch once. That's a lock. I can't pull this open. It's actually got to be triggered and lifted. You can see how it has that articulated lift lock, and then there's a second lock in the form of the clamshell with a little kerf underneath so you can dig your nail in for easy withdrawal of that second locking factor. Polished and satinated externally. You can see the Oyster clasp is substantial. The case is fluid and shapely. You can see sinuous compound curves, all of high polish. This is not the sheer super case on some of the other sports watches. This is a more graceful case, similar to what you'll find on something like Yachtmaster, a Date 8, or a Date Just. It straddles the line between sports and dress watch elegance. Taking a look at the crown side, you can see a trip-lock crown in platinum, because you have the 2 large flanking dots and the small central dot. Rolex crowns have symbols to let you know the material and the type. So trip-lock, 2 screw-down crowns for the chronograph, solid Oyster case back, 100 meters water resistant. Because it has a solid case back, it's thinner than if it had a display case back. The current version of this watch in platinum in the Rolex catalog does have a display case back, but the presence of that sapphire makes it a little bit thicker and a little bit lighter, whereas here you get that giant disc of platinum, which makes it even more massive and impressive. We have a lovely chocolate ceramic bezel, Cerachrome ceramic, almost scratch resistant to sapphire. It acts as a heat shield that deflects a lot of the incoming blows or glancing hits against your watch to reduce scratching. And you can see that it has a tachymeter scale that, in conjunction with the chronograph seconds hand, allows you to gauge the speed of an object, such as a car over a kilometer. And the fill within the bezel, that's actually platinum deposited to create the characters and the numerals. On the dial, Rolex's signature ice blue or glacier blue. It's become more intense and more saturated over time. Now it is unmistakably blue on the modern watches, with a sunburst pattern radiating out from center. Crown, indices, hands, all white gold to resist oxidation or tarnish over time. We have a lovely tone-on-tone effect with the chocolate rings for each of the sub-registers. Let's take a quick look in the dark. You can see one of the arguments for this model in favor relative to its diamond index counterpart, and there is a version of this watch with diamond indices. This one has lumed indices, and it's easier to read in the dark. Now, inside the case, Rolex caliber 4130, manufacture movement, bidirectional winding with a rotor bearing rather than a jeweled staff for shock resistance, as well as a full balance bridge and a free sprung balance, again for shock resistance. We have a chronograph with a crisp column wheel for function selection. And note the seconds hand, a vertical clutch so there's no extraneous jump, stagger, or free play to the chronograph seconds hand when you start it. Plus, due to a vertical clutch creating no additional wear and tear, you can leave it engaged full time if you wish. So the 72-hour power reserve meted out at 8 beats per second, or 4 hertz. That's the rate of the movement. It pivots on 44 joules. It has an overcoil hairspring, Breguet profile shaped by hand, so in any physical position it keeps very good time. It has been through the COSC chronometer test as a movement, yes, but then cased up. Rolex tests that movement in 6 positions to keep time no worse than -2 + 2 seconds per day, hence the term superlative chronometer on the dial. It does have a substantive meaning. The watch also features a Parachrome blue anti-magnetic alloy on the overcoil hairspring that makes this watch robustly anti-magnetic, so water-resistant, shock-resistant, and anti-magnetic. A very tough timer, and of course the Rolex Daytona, the winner's gift for each winning driver in each class-winning car at the annual 24 Hours of Daytona sports car race. It is the most coveted trophy in all of motorsports. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing.